Hi, this is Tim at the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com is still my email address. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email me at tmosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we're discussing a watch that launched to great acclaim back in 2015. This is the Omega Constellation Globemaster. And while the Constellation Griffin Claw is the modern constellation officially and a franchise in and of itself, practically a standalone watch brand in East Asia, a lot of traditionalist Omega collectors wanted a pie pan constellation revival. So in 2015, on a series production basis, Omega gave those purists this watch, the Constellation Globemaster. So taking a quick look at the watch, it's nicely sized with a tonneau style case, 39 millimeters in diameter. You can see it's primarily stainless steel, though it has a yellow gold coined bezel and a crown to match. The watch is quite thin, surprisingly thin, 13 millimeters thick and surprisingly short, 46.2 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist of 16 centimeters circumference. You can see it wears easily. It's actually low enough that you should have no trouble wearing it as a dress watch, and you can see quite well the hallmarking of the bezel down between the lugs at 6 o'clock there. The watch is short across the wrist too, and it's a good fit for a wrist of 14 centimeters circumference or larger. It might even fit 13.9 as the strap starts to loosen up, soften up, and break in. You can see from over the top the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist, and down the barrel you could see that even better. And yes, it is flat enough to fit underneath the dress cuff. The strap is medium rectangular scale alligator leather, semi-gloss finish. It has a very narrow edge that is folded with a monotone stitch, calfskin on the bottom. You can see no crimping, no gouging. This is an Omega factory strap in excellent condition. We have a deployant clasp with a combination of polished satin, twin triggers, press them both to open it up. Inside there's a little clasp. We have two lobes and a pin. You tuck this in, you clamp it down, you size it up, and then all excess length is hidden underneath the strap with no need for minder loops. People always ask, what do I mean by that? I mean these things. Those are minder loops. This is a very clean look that hides all excess length underneath the clasp body and underneath the strap. Put it on a different strap. It's surprisingly sporty. It has a 100-meter water resistance. You can swim with it. The case band is somewhere between a tonneau and a round case, but I'm going to describe this as a tonneau because it really does have that appearance to my eye, and I'm holding it here in my hand. There's a nice contrast between the bevels and the satination. You can see that the crown, it is a push-down crown, but it is 100 meters water resistant. The bezel doesn't really feel like a Rolex bezel. Some people ask me, isn't this like Rolex's fluted bezel? This is a much narrower, more tightly spaced coining. And we have a curved sapphire over a dial that is silver white, yellow gold hands, constellation star, Omega logo, marquee, and indices. And then we have plenty of luminescence. Again, it is a sporty dress watch as these things go. There's no shortage. We have that faceted pie pan dial, made famous by the constellations of the 1950s. The pie pan is, to many, the definitive constellation look. You also see that we have a centered date that crops the index down at 6 o'clock with facets, so it's not a sheer, clumsy cut from the dial down to the disc. You have that one step down. You have the little star right there. More on that in a moment. Let's take a look at the setting modes. We have the ability to move the hour hand. Well, the watch keeps ticking. I'm not displacing the seconds or the minutes. This is great for traveling around, and you can change your time zone. You can even roll the date forward or backwards depending on which direction you cross the international date line. We have a lovely vintage-inspired Globemaster logo up at the top. And yes, if you pull the crown out all the way, you do engage stop seconds or hacking. Look at the attention to detail. Did you notice how the lancet-style counterweighted seconds hand is faceted down its center to allow a better contrast against the dial base? Little things like that matter. You can also see that the inner faces of the indices have a little chevron cut into their profile that matches the faceted edge of the pie pan center. Really gorgeous stuff. Now on the reverse, you have the observatory, and on the dial, you have the star. This is a master chronometer, but it also reminds you that the original constellation was an observatory celestial chronometer. This is caliber 8900, which is the 8500 that has become a Maytaz master chronometer. 2 barrels in series, 60 hours of power reserve, bidirectional winding. The twin barrels in series ensure a super flat torque curve, so this watch receives almost constant force to its escapement for almost the entirety of its mainspring wind. It has a quirky beat rate of 25,200 vibrations per hour, which is specific to the silicon hairspring. So with an anti-magnetic escapement, hairspring, balance, and balance staff, the watch is basically amagnetic. It has a full dual-anchored balance bridge with a free-sprung architecture for shock resistance. It pivots on 39 joules. And it features the coaxial escapement as invented by George Daniels in the 70s, industrialized by Omega in 1999, and since the 8500 family arrived in 2007, the tri-level has really been everything that was anticipated: greater efficiency, reduced maintenance requirements, extended power reserve, all of that. The Master Chronometer certification is a test that, yes, meets the COSC standards but goes beyond, testing in 6 positions instead of 5, and is a fully assembled watch instead of as a bare movement. It includes chronometry, shock resistance, water resistance, winding efficiency, power reserve, and yes, anti-magnetism to over 15,000 Gauss. The watch is effectively immune to magnets. If you love this watch, reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.